Hello and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today I am going to be reading chapters 15 and 16 of Charlotte's Web. And I've written most of the questions up here that are on your worksheets for chapters 15 and 16. All right, let's get started. Chapter 15 is called The Crickets. The crickets sang in the grasses. They sang the song of summer's ending. A sad, monotonous song. Monotonous means kind of just boring. Summer is over and gone, they sang, over and gone, over and gone. Summer is dying, dying. The crickets felt it was their duty to warn everybody that summertime cannot last forever. Even on the most beautiful days in the whole year, the days when summer is changing into fall, the crickets spread the rumor of sadness and change. Everybody heard the song of the crickets. Avery and Fern Arabelle heard it as they walked the dusty road. They knew that school would soon begin again. The young geese heard it and knew that there would never be little goslings again. Charlotte heard it and knew that she hadn't much time left. Mrs. Zuckerman at work in the kitchen heard the crickets, and a sadness came over her too. Another summer gone, she sighed. Lurvy at work building a crate for Wilbur heard the song and knew it was time to dig potatoes. Summer is over and gone, repeated the crickets. How many nights till frost, sang the crickets. Goodbye, summer, goodbye, goodbye. The sheep heard the crickets, and they felt so uneasy, they broke a hole in the pasture fence and wandered up into the field across the road. The sheeps got out. The grander discovered the hole and led his family through, and they walked to the orchard and ate apples that were lying on the ground. A little maple tree in the swamp heard the cricket's song and turned bright red with anxiety. Anxiety means that you're very nervous. Wilbur was now the center of attraction on the farm. Good food and regular hours were showing results. Wilbur was a pig any man would be proud of. One day, more than 100 people came to stand at his yard and admire him. Charlotte had written the word radiant, and Wilbur looked radiant as he stood in the golden sunlight. Ever since the spider had befriended him, he had done his best to live up to his reputation. When Charlotte's Web said some pig, Wilbur had tried hard to look like some pig. When Charlotte's Web said terrific, Wilbur had tried to look terrific. And now that the web said radiant, he did everything possible to make himself glow. It is not easy to look radiant, but Wilbur threw himself into it with a will. He would turn his head slightly and blink his long eyelashes. Then he would breathe deeply. And when his audience grew bored, he would spring into the air and do a backflip with a half twist. At this, the crowd would yell and cheer. How's that for a pig? Mr. Zuckerman would ask. Well pleased with himself. That pig is radiant. Some of Wilbur's friends in the barn worried for fear of this attention would go to his head and make him stuck up. But it never did. Wilbur was modest. Fame did not spoil him. He still worried some about the future, as he could hardly believe that a mere spider would be able to save his life. Sometimes at night, he would have a bad dream. He would dream that men were coming to get him with knives and guns. But that was only a dream. In the daytime, Wilbur usually felt happy and confident. 2 more adjectives. No pig ever had truer friends. And he realized that friendship is one of the most satisfying things in the world. Even the song of the crickets did not make Wilbur too sad. He knew it was almost time for the county fair, and he was looking forward to the trip. If he could distinguish himself at the fair and maybe win some prize money, he was sure Zuckerman would let him live. Charlotte had worries of her own, but she kept quiet about them. One morning, Wilbur asked her about the fair. "You're going with me, aren't you, Charlotte?" he said. "Well, I don't know," replied Charlotte. "The fair comes at a bad time for me. I shall find it inconvenient to leave home even for a few days." "Why?" asked Wilbur. "Oh, I just don't feel like leaving my web. Too much going on around here." "Please come with me," begged Wilbur. "I need you, Charlotte. I can't stand going to the fair without you. You've just got to come." "No," said Charlotte. "I believe I'd better stay home and see if I can get some work done." "What kind of work?" asked Wilbur. "Egg laying. It's time I made an egg sack and filled it with eggs." "I didn't know you could lay eggs," said Wilbur in amazement. "Oh, sure," said the spider. "I'm versatile." "What does versatile mean? Full of eggs?" asked Wilbur. "Certainly not," said Charlotte. "Versatile means I can turn with ease from one thing to another. It means I don't have to limit my activities to spinning and trapping and stunts like that." "Why don't you come to the fairgrounds and lay your eggs there?" pleaded Wilbur. "It would be wonderful fun." Charlotte gave her web a twitch and moodily watched it sway. "I'm afraid not," she said. "You don't know the first thing about egg laying, Wilbur. I can't arrange my family duties to suit the management of the county fair. When I get ready to lay eggs, I have to lay eggs, fair or no fair. However, I don't want to leave you to worry about it. You might lose weight. We'll leave it this way. I'll come to the fair if I possibly can." "Oh, good," said Wilbur. "I knew you wouldn't forsake me just when I need you most." All that day, Wilbur stayed inside, taking life easy in the straw. Charlotte rested and ate a grasshopper. She knew that she couldn't help Wilbur much longer. In a few days, she would have to drop everything and build the beautiful little sack that would hold her eggs. All right, that was the end of chapter 15. We'll be moving on to chapter 16, but let's answer some of our questions for chapter 15. Question number 1 says, what did the crickets symbolize? Okay, so the crickets symbolized what? They symbolized that the summer was ending. What did the crickets symbolize? That summer was ending. Number 2. What did Wilbur do to make himself radiant? He tried to make himself glow. Because if you are radiant, it means that you have a glow to you. You kind of are very clean and pretty and shiny. Charlotte said that she may not be able to go to the fair because she will be, number 3 is a multiple choice question. She will be A, laying eggs, B, hibernating, or C, spinning a new web. The answer would be that she would be A, laying eggs. Number 4, can you think of something that she can do to allow herself to go to the fair? One thing that she could probably do would be to lay her eggs at the fair. But that might not be where she wants to lay her eggs. All right, next we're going to go on to chapter 16. And you have 2 worksheets for chapter 16. The first question for chapter 16 says, before reading, make a prediction of what some of the things that you think will be at the fair. Okay, so go ahead and just make a prediction of what kind of things you think will be at the fair. Usually things that are at the fair are, they have rides, they have candy, they have games, they have lots of different animals that you can see, they have arts and crafts. So you can write any of those things about what you think will be at the fair. I can write a few of them up there. Let's see, games, rides, prizes, animals, and people. All right, let's get into chapter 16. Off to the fair. The night before the county fair, everybody went to bed early. Fern and Avery were in bed by 8. Avery lay dreaming that the Ferris wheel had stopped and that he was in the top car. Fern lay dreaming that she was getting sick in the swings. Lurvy was in bed by 8:30. He lay dreaming that he was throwing baseballs at a cloth cat and winning a genuine Navajo blanket. Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerman were in bed by 9. Mrs. Zuckerman lay dreaming about a deep freeze unit. Mr. Zuckerman lay dreaming about Wilbur. He dreamt that Wilbur had grown until he was 165 feet long and 92 feet high, and that he had won all the prizes at the fair and was covered with blue ribbons, and even had a blue ribbon tied to the end of his tail. Down in the barn cellar, the animals too went to sleep early, all except Charlotte. Tomorrow would be fair day. Every creature planned to get up early to see Wilbur off on his great adventure. When morning came, everybody got up at daylight. The day was hot. Up the road at the Arabelle's house, Fern lugged a pail of hot water to her room and took a sponge bath. Then she put on her prettiest dress because she knew she would see boys at the fair. Mrs. Arabelle scrubbed the back of Avery's neck and wet his hair and parted it and brushed it down hard until it stuck to the top of his head. All but about 6 hairs that stood straight up. Avery put on clean underwear, clean blue jeans, and a clean shirt. Mr. Arabelle dressed, ate breakfast, and then went out and polished his truck. He had offered to drive everybody to the fair, including Wilbur. Bright and early, Lurvy put clean straw in Wilbur's crate and lifted it into the pig pen. The crate was green in gold letters. It said, Zuckerman's Famous Pig. And I'm just looking at number 2. All of the animals went to sleep early the night before the fair. Yes, everybody went to sleep early. And the green crate said, Zuckerman's Famous Pig. So we can go ahead and write that down. That is what the crate said. it says that everybody went to sleep early the night before the fair. So we will say that that is true. Charlotte had her web looking fine for the occasion. Wilbur ate his breakfast slowly. He tried to look radiant without getting food in his ears. In the kitchen, Mrs. Zuckerman suddenly made an announcement. "Homer," she said to her husband, "I am going to give that pig a buttermilk bath." "A what?" said Mr. Zuckerman. "A buttermilk bath. My grandmother used to bathe her pig with buttermilk when it would get dirty." "I just remembered." "Wilbur's not dirty," said Mr. Zuckerman proudly. "He's filthy behind the ears," said Mrs. Zuckerman. "Every time Lurvy slops him, the food runs down around his ears. Then it dries and forms a crust. He also has a smudge on one side where he lays in the manure." "He lays in clean straw," corrected Mr. Zuckerman. "Well, he's dirty, and he's going to have a bath." Mr. Zuckerman sat down weakly and ate a donut. His wife went to the woodshed. When she returned, she wore rubber boots and an old raincoat, and she carried a bucket of buttermilk and a small wooden paddle. "Edith, you're crazy," mumbled Zuckerman. She paid no attention to him. Together, they walked to the pig pen. Mr. Zuckerman wasted no time. She climbed in with Wilbur and went to work. Dipping her paddle in the buttermilk, she rubbed him all over. The geese gathered around to see the fun, and so did the sheep and the lambs. Even Templeton poked his head out cautiously to watch Wilbur get a buttermilk bath. Charlotte got interested. She lowered herself on a dragline so that she could see better. Wilbur stood still and closed his eyes. He could feel the buttermilk trickling down his sides. He opened his mouth and some buttermilk ran in. It was delicious. He felt radiant and happy. When Mrs. Zuckerman got through and rubbed him dry, he was the cleanest, prettiest pig you ever saw. He was pure white, pink around the ears and snout, and smooth as silk. The Zuckermans went up to change into their best clothes. Lurvy went to shave and put on his plaid shirt and his purple necktie. The animals were left to themselves in the barn. The 7 goslings paraded around and around their mother. "Please, please, please take us to the fair," begged a gosling. Then all 7 began teasing to go. "Please, please, 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 please." They made quite a racket. "Children," snapped the goose, "we're staying quietly at home. Only Wilbur Ilber is going to the fair." Just then, Charlotte interrupted. "I shall go too," she said softly. "I've decided to go with Wilbur. He may need me. We can't tell what may happen at the fairgrounds. Somebody's got to go along who knows how to write. And I think Templeton better come too. I might need somebody to run errands and do general work." "I'm staying right here," grumbled the rat. "I haven't the slightest interest in fairs." "That's because you've never been to one," remarked the old sheep. "A fair is a rat's paradise. Everybody spills food at the fair. A rat can creep out late at night and have a feast. In the horse barn, you will find oats that the trotters and pacers have spilled. In the trampled grass of the infield, you will find old discarded lunchboxes containing the foul remains of peanut butter sandwiches, hard-boiled eggs, cracker crumbs, bits of donuts, and particles of cheese. In the hard-packed dirt of the midway, after the glaring lights are out and the people have gone home to bed, you will find a variety treasure popcorn fragments, frozen custard drippings, candied apples abandoned by tired children, sugar fluff crystals, salted almonds, popsicles, partially gnawed ice cream cones, and the wooden sticks of lollipops. Everywhere is loot for a rat, in tents and booths, in the haylofts. Why, a fair has enough disgusting leftover food to satisfy a whole army of rats. Templeton's eyes were blazing. "Is this true?" he asked. "Is this appetizing yarn of yours true?" I like living high, and what you say tempts me. It's true, said the old sheep. Go to the fair, Templeton. You will find that the conditions at a fair will surpass your wildest dreams. Buckets with sour mash sticking to them, tin cans containing particles of tuna, greasy paper bags stuffed with rotten. That's enough, cried Templeton. Don't tell me any more. I'm going. Good, said Charlotte, winking at the old sheep. Now then, there is no time to be lost. Wilbur will soon be put into the crate. Templeton and I must go in the crate right now and hide ourselves. The rat didn't waste a minute. He scrambled over to the crate, crawled between the slats, and pulled straw over him so that he was hidden from sight. All right, said Charlotte, I'm next. She sailed into the air, let out a dragline, and dropped gently to the ground. Then she climbed the side of the crate and hid herself inside a knothole in the top board. The old sheep nodded. What a cargo, she said. That sign ought to say Zuckerman's famous pig and 2 stowaways. Look out, the people are coming, shouted the grander. Cheese it, cheese it, cheese it. The big truck with Mr. Arable at the wheel backed slowly down towards the barnyard. Lurvy and Mr. Zuckerman walked alongside. Fern and Avery were standing in the body of the truck, hanging on to the sideboards. Listen to me, whispered the old sheep to Wilbur. When they open the crate and try to put you in, struggle. Don't go without a tussle. Pigs always resist when they are being loaded. If I struggle, I'll get dirty, said Wilbur. Never mind that. Do as I say, struggle. If you were to walk into that crate without resisting, Zuckerman might think you were bewitched. He'd be scared to go to the fair. Templeton poked his head through the straw. Struggle if you must, he said, but kindly remember that I am hiding down here in this crate and I don't want to be stepped on, or kicked in the face, or plummeted, or crushed in any way, or squashed, or buffeted about, or bruised, or lacerated, or scarred, or biffed. Just watch what you're doing, Mr. Radiant, when they get shoving you in. Be quiet, Templeton, said the sheep. Pull in your head. They're coming. Look radiant, Wilbur. Lay low, Charlotte. Talk it up, geese. The truck backed slowly to the pig pen and stopped. Mr. Arable cut the motor, got out, walked around the rear, and lowered the tailgate. The geese cheered. Mrs. Arable got out of the truck. Fern and Avery jumped to the ground. Mr. Zuckerman came walking down from the house. Everybody lined up at the fence and stood for a moment admiring Wilbur and the beautiful green crate. Nobody realized that the crate already contained a rat and a spider. That's some pig, said Mrs. Arable. He's terrific, said Lurvy. He's very radiant, said Fern, remembering the day he was born. Well, said Mrs. Zuckerman, he's clean anyways. The buttermilk certainly helped. Mr. Arable studied Wilbur carefully. Yes, he's a wonderful pig, he said. It's hard to believe that he was the runt of the litter. You'll get some extra good ham and bacon, Homer, when it comes time to kill that pig. Wilbur heard the words and his heart almost stopped. I think I'm going to faint, he whispered to the old sheep, who was watching. Kneel down, whispered the old sheep. Let the blood rush to your head. Wilbur sank to his knees, all radiance gone, his eyes closed. Look, screamed Ferd, he's fading away. Hey, watch me, yelled Avery, crawling on all fours into the crate. I'm a pig! I'm a pig! Avery's foot touched Templeton under the straw. What a mess, thought the rat. What fantastic creatures boys are. Why did I let myself in for? What did I let myself in for this? The geese saw Avery in the crate and cheered. Avery, you get out of that crate this instant, commanded his mother. What do you think you are? I'm a pig, Avery cried, tossing handfuls of straw into the air. Oink, oink, oink. The truck is rolling away, Papa, said Fern. The truck, with no one at the wheel, had started to roll downhill. Mr. Arabelle dashed to the driver's seat and pulled on the emergency brake. The truck stopped. The geese cheered. Charlotte crouched and made herself as small as possible in the knothole so Avery wouldn't see her. "Come out at once!" cried Mrs. Arabelle. Avery crawled out of the crate on hands and knees, making faces at Wilbur. Wilbur fainted away. "The pig has passed out," said Mrs. Zuckerman. "Throw water on him." "Throw buttermilk," suggested Avery. The geese cheered. Lurvy ran for a pail of water. Fern climbed into the pen and knelt by Wilbur's side. "It's sunstroke," said Zuckerman. "The heat is too much for him." "Maybe he's dead," said Avery. "Come out of that pig pen immediately," cried Mrs. Arabelle. Avery obeyed his mother and climbed into the back of the truck so he could see better. Lurvy returned with the cold water and dashed it on Wilbur. "Throw some on me," cried Avery. "I'm hot too." "Oh, keep quiet," hollered Fern. "Keep quiet." Her eyes were brimming with tears. Wilbur, feeling the cold water, came to. He rose slowly to his feet while the geese cheered. "He's up," said Mr. Arabelle. "I guess there's nothing wrong with him." "I'm hungry," said Avery. "I want a candied apple." "Wilbur's all right now," said Fern. "We can start. I want to take a ride on the Ferris wheel." Mr. Zuckerman and Mrs. Arabelle and Lurvy grabbed the pig and pushed him headfirst towards the crate. Wilbur began to struggle. The harder the men pushed, the harder he held back. Avery jumped down and joined the men. Wilbur kicked and thrashed and grunted. "Nothing's wrong with this pig," said Mr. Zuckerman cheerfully, pressing his knee against Wilbur's behind. "All together now, boys, shove!" With a final heave, they jammed him into the crate. The geese cheered. Lurvy nailed some boards across the end so Wilbur couldn't back out. Then, using all their strength, the men picked up the crate and heaved it aboard the truck. They did not know that under the straw was a rat, and inside a knothole was a big gray spider. They saw only the pig. "Everybody in!" cried Mr. Arabelle. He started the motor. The ladies climbed in beside him. Mr. Zuckerman and Lurvy and Fern and Avery rode in the back, hanging on to the sideboards. The truck began to move ahead. The geese cheered. The children answered their cheer, and away went everybody to the fair. All right, that is the end of chapter 16. Let's look at our questions. Okay, we answered that one. Why was it important for Templeton to go to the fair? Actually, we're going to answer these. It's not on our poster, but it's on your worksheet. It's where you're going to be drawing the lines to the characters. It says, how did the characters prepare for the fair? Draw a line to match up the action with the character. So the first one says, took a buttermilk bath. That would be Wilbur. So you're going to take a line and draw from that to Wilbur. So it's going to look like that. Wore a new dress. That would be Fern. Polished his truck. Lurvy. And shaved and wore a purple necktie. That would be Mr. Arabelle. All right, let's go to our second page for chapter 16. It looks like this. And that question is on here. Why was it important for Templeton to go to the fair? That is a multiple choice question. We have A, so he could find new food. B, so he could run errands. Or C, so he could have a new home. It was important for Templeton to go to the fair, so B, he could run errands. Right, so the answer is going to be B, so he can run errands. And number 6, what is the main reason why Templeton agrees to go? Why does Templeton agree to go? Basically, he agrees to go so that he can get a lot of food. So basically, he goes because he wants to get all of the leftover food that's been dropped by, the people. Number 7. Number 7 is not on here, but we will go over it. Number 7 is, why did the sheep tell Wilbur to struggle as he got into the crate? So the sheep told him to struggle when he got into the crate because that's what all pigs do. They thought that if he didn't show a struggle, they might not think he's like every other regular pig. So they told him to struggle so that he would do what most pigs do when they are being forced into a crate. And number 8, the last one, says, draw a picture of the animals that went to the fair and their positions in the crate. Okay, so you're gonna be drawing a little picture of Templeton the rat and Charlotte. So Charlotte was kind of hiding up in like a board at the top. Templeton was hiding underneath the straw. And then you would draw a picture of Wilbur. And that is the end of our video. And that is the end of chapters 15 and 16. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, like always, I hope you're happy. I hope you're laughing, and I miss you very much. And I can't wait to see you on our next Google Meets. All right, thank you.